Psychology Archetypes with Astrology. Case Study, Ramesh Ascendant, Sagittarius, Purva Ashada Nakshatra. Ramesh's ascendant in Sagittarius frames his personality through the lens of purpose, exploration, and philosophical growth. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter and is deeply connected to learning, wisdom, and the pursuit of meaning. Individuals with this ascendant often see life as a journey, one that is not only physical, but also intellectual and spiritual. They are naturally drawn to higher ideals and a broader worldview, often valuing truth and integrity as guiding lights. The presence of Purva Ashada Nakshatra at the ascendant deepens this Sagittarian influence with a sense of emotional drive and moral conviction. Ruled by Venus, Purva Ashada adds refinement, charm, and a passion for emotional authenticity. It brings an inner urge to succeed, not through force, but through influence, ideals, and a belief in the power of renewal. This nakshatra carries the energy of invincibility, not in arrogance, but in enduring belief. This combination brings forward the visionary archetype as the core of Ramesh's psychological and behavioral identity. He is someone who doesn't just think ahead, he lives ahead, often envisioning possibilities that others haven't yet imagined. The visionary in him is fueled by both idealism and intensity, constantly trying to align the outer world with a deeper, often spiritual inner compass. Ramesh may naturally gravitate toward roles where he can influence thought through teaching, guiding, writing, or simply through his presence. He sees life as a system of causes and beliefs, and he wants to refine that system. He doesn't react, he responds, often after deep contemplation and internal filtering. His motivations are likely guided by abstract principles, but his actions are grounded in the desire to make a lasting impact. Yet, with this level of idealism comes the risk of emotional overextension. Purva Ashada, in particular, brings emotional momentum. Once Ramesh feels strongly about a cause or direction, he may pursue it with intense conviction, potentially overlooking nuances or practical limitations. Learning to balance big-picture thinking with grounded presence will be key to embodying the best of this archetype. In his everyday life, Ramesh may be perceived as morally centered, independent, and guided by an inner sense of right timing. He might seem optimistic, even in the face of setbacks, because his sense of self is tied to a belief that there is a purpose behind every challenge. This makes him not just a seeker of truth, but a living embodiment of the truths he chooses to walk with. At his highest expression, Ramesh becomes a future architect of meaning, a person whose life itself becomes a philosophy, whose every choice is an extension of a broader vision, and whose inner clarity quietly inspires others to find their own path. Psychology Archetypes with Astrology, Case Study, Ramesh, Part 2. Fifth house, creativity, intelligence, and the personal spark of joy. Jupiter, Ketu, and Moon in Aries, Bharani, and Kritika nakshatras. Jupiter rules the 1st and 4th houses. Ketu rules the 12th house. Moon rules the 8th house. Ramesh's 5th house is a concentrated center of emotional, philosophical, and karmic energy, holding Jupiter, Ketu, and the Moon together in Aries. This is a house typically associated with creativity, love, children, and personal expression. And with this trio of planetary influences, it becomes one of his most dynamic psychological landscapes. For Ramesh, joy and creativity are not lighthearted distractions. They are acts of transformation, insight, and deep inner revelation. Jupiter in the 5th activates the visionary archetype at the level of personal expression. As the ruler of his ascendant, Jupiter brings forward the core themes of moral clarity, expansion, and higher thinking. In Aries, this expression becomes direct and courageous. He doesn't just imagine or theorize creative ideas, he acts on them. Whether through teaching, guiding, or artistic work, he is likely someone who wants to inspire others to think bigger and reach further. Creativity for him is a vehicle of influence, purpose, and belief. Ketu, also in Aries and placed in Bharani Nakshatra, introduces the mystic archetype into this arena. Ketu's presence adds detachment from egoic expression. It spiritualizes the joy of the 5th house, encouraging Ramesh to explore creativity as a karmic offering rather than a performance. In Bharani, a nakshatra ruled by Venus and symbolizing the womb, this brings a deep, often hidden capacity to birth powerful inner truths. His romantic or artistic expressions may be rich with emotional weight, but not outwardly indulgent. He may avoid the spotlight or question the relevance of self-expression for its own sake. There is a quiet dignity to his creative force. It emerges from past life maturity and spiritual refinement. The moon, placed in Kritika Nakshatra, adds the guardian archetype. It makes his emotional body an essential part of his creative intelligence. He feels deeply, protects what he loves, and may form strong emotional attachments to his creative projects or children. Kritika, ruled by the sun, gives him the instinct to nurture through fire. He protects by purifying. His emotional responses may be sharp, focused, and sometimes intense, but they are always motivated by care and responsibility. The moon's rulership over the 8th house also means his expressions are not light or superficial. They are emotionally transformative, often revealing psychological depth or hidden truths. Psychologically, this 5th house blend suggests that Ramesh expresses himself through wisdom, emotional depth, and karmic resonance. He may experience periods of creative withdrawal, romantic detachment, or a deepening spiritual journey connected to children, love, or artistic calling. Joy doesn't come to him through entertainment. It comes through meaningful output, whether that's a crafted idea, a piece of guidance, or a quiet moment of philosophical clarity shared with someone who needs it. In relationships, Ramesh may carry a unique mix of romantic wisdom, emotional protection, and quiet detachment. He likely values independence and depth in love, and he may be drawn to partners who are emotionally intelligent, spiritually evolved, or quietly intense like himself. At his highest potential, Ramesh's 5th house becomes a sacred space of creative transmission, where the visionary sees, the mystic releases, and the guardian protects. He expresses not to impress, but to awaken. His voice, love, and vision are all extensions of an inner alignment with truth, and when he shares, it is to leave behind something timeless. Psychology Archetypes with Astrology, Case Study, Ramesh Part 3. 6th house, discipline, refinement, and purposeful service. Sun, Mercury, and Venus in Taurus, Rohini and Kritika Nakshatras. Sun rules the 9th house. Mercury rules the 7th and 10th houses. Venus rules the 6th and 11th houses. The 6th house in Ramesh's chart is exceptionally active, holding Sun, Mercury, and Venus, a triad that brings clarity, intellect, and aesthetic intelligence into the realm of routine, service, and self-discipline. This house, traditionally associated with work, health, and overcoming obstacles, becomes for Ramesh not just a place of labor, but of self-mastery and contribution. It is where he learns to organize his inner light into meaningful action. The sun placed here activates the executor archetype, but with noble purpose. As the ruler of his 9th house, philosophy, higher knowledge, and dharma, the sun gives Ramesh a moral orientation in his daily work. In Rohini Nakshatra, known for creativity, growth, and nurturing prosperity, the sun gives him a natural leadership style that is attractive, grounded, and purpose-driven. He likely excels in structured environments where his contributions can be seen and appreciated, and where his values are reflected in the systems he helps maintain. His strength lies in steady action, moving with purpose and refinement rather than force. Mercury, also in Kritika Nakshatra, brings the reformer archetype into focus. Mercury here makes him mentally sharp, verbally precise, and observant, especially in the details of daily work and interpersonal dynamics. He's someone who can spot flaws in systems, see through inefficiencies, and naturally gravitate toward improvement and optimization. As the ruler of his 7th and 10th houses, Mercury ties his professional authority and relational intelligence directly to how he operates day to day. He's likely someone whose clarity and strategic communication bring tangible results to the teams and individuals he works with. Venus, as the lord of the 6th house placed in its own sign of Taurus, enhances the diplomat archetype. It brings grace, harmony, and artistic refinement into the work and service sphere. Venus here doesn't like chaos. It prefers flow, order, and beauty, even in routine. Ramesh likely excels in roles that blend functionality with aesthetic sense, perhaps in design, consulting, wellness, or environments where the emotional experience of service matters. Venus also rules his 11th house, linking his long-term goals and collective contributions to how he maintains equilibrium in his daily life. The convergence of these 3 planets in Taurus gives Ramesh a steady, resilient temperament when it comes to challenge. He doesn't rush. He builds. He refines. He may be the one who stays calm in conflict, finds the elegant solution, or elevates routine through principle and care. This is someone who does not just do the work. He polishes it into something graceful and quietly influential. Psychologically, this sixth house cluster suggests a soul who values order, integrity, and consistency. He may feel uncomfortable in chaotic environments or when unaligned with the values of those he serves. Work, for him, is a calling, and service is most fulfilling when it reflects something deeper: beauty, truth, and alignment. However, with so much mental and aesthetic intensity here, he must be careful of over-perfectionism or emotional suppression in the name of discipline. In his highest expression, Ramesh's sixth house becomes a refined engine of contribution, where the executor brings will, the reformer brings clarity, and the diplomat brings grace. He works not just to produce, but to uplift. Through his consistency, strategy, and ethical artistry, he transforms the mundane into something sacred, efficient, and enduring. Psychology Archetypes with Astrology, Case Study, Ramesh Part 4. 8th House, Inner Transformation, Psychological Depth, and Hidden Power. Saturn and Mars in Cancer, Purva Nakshatra. Saturn rules the 2nd and 3rd houses, Mars rules the 5th and 12th houses. The 8th house is the chamber of depth, where hidden emotions, psychological thresholds, power dynamics, and karmic transformation take shape. For Ramesh, this house holds Saturn and Mars in Cancer, both planets in a sign where they are challenged, but together forging a personality built on emotional endurance and inner reform. The 8th house doesn't just invite transformation, it demands it. And for Ramesh, this demand plays out through the tension between control, Saturn, and intensity, Mars. Saturn in the 8th activates the guardian archetype, but here it functions as a protector of emotional integrity rather than outer order. As ruler of the 2nd house, values and voice, and the 3rd house, effort and communication, Saturn here ties Ramesh's ability to speak, connect, and live in alignment with his values to his capacity for inner strength. He is likely someone who has endured emotional constriction or has had to learn to process fear, vulnerability, or loss through personal responsibility. In Purva Nakshatra, Saturn gains a nourishing yet disciplined quality. It suggests someone who carries emotional weight silently, but offers support, guidance, or protection to others in need of structure during difficult transitions. Mars, in the same sign, and Nakshatra brings the executor archetype into this shadowy house. Mars is debilitated in Cancer, so its outward aggression is tempered, redirected inward. Here, action becomes emotional defense, strategy becomes survival instinct, and willpower is sharpened through emotional storms. Mars ruling both the 5th house, creativity, love, and the 12th house, surrender, isolation, suggests that Ramesh's intensity may manifest in emotionally charged creative expression, private spiritual discipline, or passionate romantic entanglements that force him to confront his own vulnerabilities. In Purva, Mars channels its energy toward disciplined caregiving and emotional protection. It fights not through attack, but through silent resilience. Together, these two planets give Ramesh a powerful psychological core. He may not wear his emotions on his sleeve, but he feels deeply and processes intensely. His transformation happens in layers, slow, profound, and often away from view. He may be drawn to topics others avoid: death, psychology, healing, betrayal, not for fascination, but because these are the places where his soul learns to ground, forgive, and lead. Psychologically, this is the setup of someone who carries emotional gravity. Ramesh may have been the quiet observer in chaotic environments, the one who learned young how to hold the unspoken heaviness in a room. As an adult, he may be drawn to roles where he helps others navigate emotional or existential crisis, whether in family, mentorship, or leadership. He doesn't flinch at pain. He processes it, and in doing so, becomes stronger. In its most mature expression, Ramesh's 8th house becomes a forge of emotional mastery. Through the guardian, he creates boundaries in emotional chaos. Through the executor, he moves strategically through intensity without losing balance. This placement makes him a silent pillar, unshakable, emotionally wise, and capable of guiding others through transformation because he himself has lived through it. His power is quiet, but it is immense. Psychology Archetypes with Astrology, Case Study, Ramesh, Part 5. 11th house, collective alignment, long-term aspirations, and social impact. Rahu in Libra, Swati Nakshatra. Rahu is co-ruler of the 6th house, Aquarius. The 11th house represents the ideals we live for, the groups we belong to, the futures we build, and the kind of legacy we hope to share with the collective. For Ramesh, Rahu in Libra brings a karmic hunger for meaningful connection, social refinement, and harmony within wider systems. This isn't a passive placement. It's a dynamic tension between needing social involvement and reinventing how one contributes to the collective. Rahu in this house activates the maverick archetype, particularly in how Ramesh engages with networks, collaborations, and social goals. He doesn't just want to be part of a group, he wants to evolve how groups function. Libra's influence adds a diplomatic veneer to this desire, making Ramesh someone who knows how to navigate social environments with charm and grace, while still carrying an underlying desire to disrupt surface-level consensus. He may enter a group because of shared values, but stay only if there is depth, growth, and room for personal authenticity. Swati Nakshatra, ruled by Rahu itself, intensifies this signature. Known for movement, adaptability, and the winds of independent thinking, Swati makes Ramesh socially agile. He likely shifts between groups or causes, gathering knowledge, forming diverse connections, and contributing in nonlinear ways. Yet Swati's deeper purpose is refinement through flexibility. Ramesh is learning to be in society without being swallowed by it. His freedom matters just as much as his participation. Because Rahu co-rules the 6th house, effort, service, and refinement, this placement ties his social progress to how he serves others. Ramesh is not content to belong for belonging's sake. He wants to contribute something meaningful, to create fairness or solve imbalance within his communities. There may be karmic situations where he's drawn to advocate for justice, equity, or emotional intelligence within groups, even when that role is uncomfortable. Psychologically, the maverick in the 11th house indicates a soul learning to balance collaboration with autonomy. Ramesh may feel torn between wanting to be accepted and wanting to stay independent. He might at times withdraw from social circles when they feel too restrictive or misaligned, only to later return with a redefined purpose or role. His path includes learning when to disrupt and when to harmonize, when to lead from the front and when to guide from the periphery. In day-to-day life, Ramesh may be drawn to visionary communities, reform-based movements, or interdisciplinary networks that honor both structure and freedom. He thrives where innovation meets purpose, where new ways of being together are not just explored, but lived. He may be the one quietly steering a group in a new direction, not through confrontation, but through quiet influence and well-timed insight. At its highest expression, Ramesh's 11th house becomes a laboratory for social evolution. Through the maverick, he teaches others how to collaborate without losing individuality, how to serve the collective without erasing the self. His contribution isn't loud, it's strategic, graceful, and designed to leave the group better than he found it.